welcome back to Similarly Opposites, the podcast. My name is Reza-Astrid.
I'm Sakeenah.
And this is just a podcast to chat about what's been going on in our lives, what we've seen on the internet, as well as travel, anything travel related. We've been on 8 countries together, and we hope to go on many more trips together, but also separately. So please join us on this journey. If you haven't yet, if you're new, welcome. Please like and subscribe down below. We're hoping that by the end of this month that we will be on other platforms, not just YouTube, so then you'll be able to listen to us while you're driving to work or picking up the kids from school, washing dishes, whatever. As we always say, we are just background music or background noise for what you're busy with in your own day-to-day life. So with that very lengthy intro, Sakeenah, how are you doing? What's up? How's it going?
So about the intro, I don't think we're exclusively about like travels. We have other things we'll talk about, and maybe there'll be podcast episodes where we don't even mention travels. We'll just talk about other things. I feel like we're multifaceted individuals.
We are.
Things other than just travels. Partially because when you say we've only been to 8 countries out of so many, like it sounds like a little like we don't warrant a full podcast just about travels. And there's also other things that we do in our lives that we can chat about, or just like, being a young adult, a YA in 2020 and how that's going for us. 2020 is almost done.
YAs.
Yeah, I'm definitely under 30. So, so there's like other things that we want to discuss as well. I'm good. I'm really good. Like I just said, I can't believe we're almost in 2021. It's bizarre for me because we were talking about scheduling now, and the days we record, because like there's busy times in our lives, and that's why you got to double dose kind of last week of our podcast. There's busy times and busy moments in our lives, but there's also moments where we can schedule these things in. So I was scheduling something for January now, and it was like, that's only 8 weeks away or something crazy. Like it's ridiculous. So literally I was scheduling something with a girl, and she's like, I can't schedule you in this yet. I don't have my 2021 diet yet. And I was like, huh? 2021? That soon? Like, it's insane to me. But I'm really good. So did the normal. But yesterday I got a vitamin B shot in my butt cheek. And it burnt when it went in, but it always burns when it goes in. And I feel like it's slowly starting to work. Like I don't feel like I need a nap right now, like right this second. That's also good. And I'm just like finalizing everything before exams. And I gave my kids a little presents today. Nearly felt something. I'm good. How are you?
I'm glad to hear that. I've never had a vitamin B shot before, but a lot of people say it does work, and you go for them regularly. I'm doing really well. I feel like yesterday was the most productive day that I've had in months. I was so productive. I was so busy getting my work done, and then today it's probably the least productive I've ever been in a really long time, but I'm doing really well. I look very tired. I'm glad that our listeners aren't watching us because I look like a zombie. And it's so funny because this morning I sent you a photo of us 6 years ago, and you're like, look at us. And then I was like, I know we look completely different. Like if we had to take if we had to recreate that photo of 6 years ago, people will think it's been like decades.
And it's different people, definitely. And that's why I told you this morning, I was like, who are these young, fresh looking people? And you were like, you were talking, you'd be like, speak for yourself. But dude, like we look like different people.
We
like,
do. And
that's how we look now.
Exactly. Every time I look at photos, because I was going up, I pressed on a photo, and then it showed me other photos of like during that time, or just random photos. And then I saw a photo of like, I think it was last year's Eid or something, or the year before I went to your grand's house. I look overweight. I look stressed out. I look so tired. And I thought I was feeling myself, well, not really, but I thought I looked all right that day. And now I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? It's the same thing when I was looking back at the photos of me with short hair, because I cut my hair like 3 years ago. I was like, what were you thinking? But in the moment, I was like, I love this hairstyle. I look so good. I'm so happy. It's crazy how life just changes so quickly, and how at a point in your life where you think you're, fat, or you think you're ugly, or you think you're, not happy in a sense, but then you can look back at it at a different stage in your life, and then you're like, why did I think those things in that moment? And it's just, again, I've been saying this whole week to everyone I'm talking to. I'm like, hindsight is the best side. Like, when you look back at the rearview mirror of your life, you're just like, why? Like, how? Like, what? Like, why didn't I appreciate that moment more? Why didn't I just stop stressing about my weight or whatever? And it's just, life moves so quickly.
You sound so like frazzled.
I do feel a bit frazzled. I feel a bit old, and
this year has changed me. I am definitely an immense amount from last year this time. Last year this time was our final year's dance, looking young and fresh, Yeah. This year has aged me. But even people like in March, even before Corona was like a really big thing, although it was a thing, there wasn't no lockdown.
Yeah.
Even then, I was like, whoa, I look like a working human being right now.
Yeah.
I don't look young. I don't look carefree. Like, I look like an adult. And I don't know if I hate it or if I like it.
I think it's just a new stage of your life. So you like look different in that stage. And it's not getting older.
It's a different type of stress though. And I feel like you can see the stress factors in my face. And it's like, not the best.
We're getting older and we're getting wiser. And that wiseness is showing. It's showing.
Hopefully. I mean, I don't have any grey hair yet. So.
But I bring this up because the funniest thing I saw on the internet was actually something that you sent me, that you found, I'm guessing on Facebook. Where did you find it? So I'm going to share it because that was like the highlight. And it's this guy, or it was from Twitter, but they post on Facebook. This guy says, you ever play 30 seconds against people who've traveled the world together? One reads the card and says, where they pickpocketed you. And then the one quickly answers, the Eiffel Tower. On some, who did I sing Kiwi karaoke in Thailand? And they all answer Elton John and burst out laughing. Every answer is a lived experience. That time your team is struggling with union building. It is at the point where the clue is, oh, you guys definitely know this one. J and B on the run tour. And without hesitation, they answer Madison Square Gardens. And you realize that you're now breathing through the wound. But I just love that one sentence. So it says, every answer is a lived experience. And I was like, now that I'm reading it, I'm like,
yeah, because even like, say Eiffel Tower, or say, okay, if you say Notre Dame, I'd be like, that time someone thought you were pickpocketing them. And that song I sang in Madagascar's karaoke. Like, it's so funny that
everyone has a similar travel stories.
Yeah, it's funny that it's the exact things that we have memories like attached to. So that was incredible. I love that. I still want to karaoke in Thailand.
Yes, but just think of that. Like everything that whenever someone asks you about your travels or ask you about your year or what you've been up to, every answer we give is a lived experience. So you can transport yourself into that exact moment. Like you say, when I think of the Eiffel Tower, when I think of the Paris, the Eiffel Tower, pickpocketing, or any of that, like I instantly start laughing because of my lived experience having all of that together. And it just means that we all have these experiences in our lives, and sometimes we forget about them. Sometimes some experiences aren't meant to be told over and over again, but some of them really help us in our day-to-day lives, and we end up winning 30 seconds because we have these other things that can link with something that's so simple to someone else. But in general, I've noticed that 30 seconds is a game where it doesn't test your knowledge, but it kind of tests your friendship.
But then I don't think we've ever played 30 seconds together, have we?
I don't think we have, but I've played 30 seconds with other people. And just
Yeah.
the way they explain things, I'm like, nah, we're not friends, because my brain can't remember that. Whereas the two of us, if we need to remember something, we don't have to say everything. We say the blue tree. We'll say nuts. We can say baby peeing on me. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Or you can like think, or Mormons.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, so it's just so cool. What?
No, that's great. I was thinking of the Mormons last night.
Yeah.
What they up to?
You always think about them.
I always think about them because I have the one on Instagram. Oops. So I don't know where the others are, which is interesting. And I was thinking
one
about
on Facebook?
What?
Don't you have one on Facebook?
Yeah, but they're not like active. I was just thinking after our conversation about the meeting that we had, about like experiences that we had with organization. So yeah, interesting. What's the topic of this week? Let me know.
That was part of it. And the second part was, what do you think is better? Dreaming about going overseas and never going, or going overseas and never being able to go back?
I'd 100% just go overseas, make the memories there, and never return. Like, because then I've had that memories and I've experienced the place. Because the thing is, with the digital age that we're living in, you can virtually visit anywhere. But where's the fun in that? Like, I want to be amongst the people, eating the food, seeing the things, doing things. So I'd definitely rather be there and never return. And you?
100%. Because, and we spoke a bit about this before, but like, what you see on the internet or on a video, that's that person's lived experience. That's what they highlight, and that's what even with us, like, people watch our stories or watch the way we explain our travels on Facebook, for example, or Instagram. Completely, we're at the same place, the same time, doing the exact same thing, but we're showing different parts of that. Like, I'll highlight this and you highlight that. And so if you always living through other people's lived experiences, you don't get to really experience it for yourself. And I truly believe that when you travel, you change. You don't come back the same person. What do you think?
No, I definitely think that. And also I find that I really like that we don't share the same content. And like we spoke in previous episodes about, is like we choose different platforms in which to share our experiences with each other. So I really like that you don't see the same thing, because we have different interests with different people. So what I will highlight, you might not highlight. So like I will highlight, I don't know, making up something like the food, and you will highlight like the museums and make a little montage of you going to museums, whatever. And like I really like that because it gives you different types of content. But I also think like it shows you a piece of yourself, and like you make the content that you want to enjoy at a certain period of a time. So I might not enjoy the way I shot all my Abu Dhabi vlogs, but I do love the memories. But at that time, I loved watching it, and I liked creating it, because I would never put something out that I don't like watching myself. Because if I'm bored with the editing process, then you're definitely going to be bored as well. I don't just put it for the sake of putting things up. And that translates now. There's so many like dead videos in my computer that will just never see the light of day. So yeah, I just find it interesting. I missed your second part of the question. Oh, you come back differently. I think definitely come back different, because people teach you things when you're overseas, but you also learn so much about yourself. Like the further you are away from home, I think, the further you're away from home is like the more you get closer to your true self, because you don't have your core family influence, society, community influencing your thoughts and opinions. Like it's just you having to navigate that space you're in at that certain period of time. And depending on how open-minded you are or closed-minded you are, like the people you meet will also then shape your view on something. So you can also, and it also depends on like who you meet. So we can meet two different groups in the same place, but the way the one group thinks about racism I don't know, and the way the other group thinks about like racism or like immigrants and stuff like that are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's up to you then to make that decision and that choice yourself. And you very like, I was very like cognizant of my own thoughts, to not get influenced by other people, because it's also so easy to just be like, yeah, cool, you're the local, you should know what's going on, like I'm gonna trust you. But no, like at the end of the day, you need to make your own decisions because you're responsible for your own decisions and actions.
100%.
I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, and I feel like every time I travel, I leave a part of me in that country, and I gain a new part of myself, and I bring that back, because you just see things differently, you hear things differently, you look at things differently, you smell things differently, you taste it, everything broadens when you go overseas. Like, the experience is so multifaceted, and like, I think of the way I look at politics in certain countries now, or the way I look at the way certain people approach you or talk to you, and so things like that. Like, it's so different to South Africa. But now, because I've gained that experience, I'm like, yo, that'd be so cool. Yeah, like, we should do something like that. Or I should feel more confident in this regard. Or I should feel like, I feel like we should be more patriotic because of the people that I've met throughout my travels. They're so patriotic about their country. They love and breathe their country. And we're like, because I remember, I think it was in Amsterdam. It was in Rotterdam, I think, maybe. The guy asked me, who's our president? And I couldn't remember Cyril's name to save my life. I couldn't remember Cyril Ramaphosa's name to save I was like,
Mandela?
I knew it wasn't Mandela, but Cyril's name just, and also, we call our president.
You turned and you were like, who's our president?
Yes, because we call our president by his first name. We're like, Uncle Cyril. But if I go tell someone in Rotterdam, oh, Uncle Cyril, he's gonna think it's my legit uncle. But it's not. It's like, we're not related. So, and just the way they approach things in their lives, the way they treat certain people. I've also realized that there's parts of other countries I love, part of other countries I don't like. And same, like, you get an appreciation for your own country, but you also feel like, you guys could do better, be better.
No, definitely, because the thing is, like, you always want the things you love or the people you love, whatever, to do better if you can see the potential in them doing better. So, like, for example, we have such a rich history, and someone with like not a great history has like impeccable museums, and then we have a piece of paper stuck with prayer stick on the wall and like cool shots. But even like our prestige museums and galleries have spelling mistakes on their plaques. You know what I'm talking about? So like, you can do so much better. And I'm not saying this out of a critical point, but like, it's because I love you that I'm like, kind of want to stay in the right direction. But even like, some people are so patriotic, like they would die for their country. Yes. I'm sorry, I would not. Would I? No, I would not.
No.
I don't die for my country. What did they do for me?
And that's the thing. Like, I think we talk about politics and being patriotic the most because that's what we see a lot. People, like, even on our missions, they're very much like, I'm from the USA, you know. But it's not just the USA people. We found that like people in Azerbaijan, they're like, you know, I'm from Azerbaijan. Or people, I wouldn't necessarily say
I'm French. I'm
French, exactly. And I'm like, cool. Thumbs up for you, because we're like, not that type of people. Like, we're just not that. We're not that type of people. I mean, I remember when I went to a conference in the US, and they're like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "South Africa." And like, "Where?" I was like, "Cape Town." And they're like, "Okay, cool." But it's like, if I ask them, they'll tell me the exact street name and the neighborhood and all that stuff. And I'm like, we're just South Africans, you know. We just.
You from Cape Town?
Yeah, I said. I can't say I'm from Somerset West. Then they're going to be like, where is that? If I say I'm from Cape Town, everybody know where Cape Town is. Like, because they always ask Johannesburg or Cape Town. I'm like, Cape Town. And then I'll say, like, when I know them a bit more, I'm like, I live about an hour. If I like have potential of inviting them to come to South Africa, I'm like, I live about an hour away from Cape Town. But they do the same thing. Like, remember when we met Erin, she said she lived in New York. And we automatically thought New York City, Manhattan, you know, one of the 5 boroughs. But she actually lives in New Jersey or something like that. Or like not in the inner city of New York. Because we always think New York City, we never think of New York the state, and that there's actually other places.
True.
Anyway, but that, I think today I just wanted to talk about the fact that every experience that we have overseas is like an experience. It's like this, it's a big deal. Like it really does change us and shape us into new versions of ourselves, better versions or not better versions of ourselves. I wouldn't say better.
Better versions of ourselves.
Yeah, it's better. And I think also we're gaining so much from the people that we're meeting. And like you've learned new languages, you know, I've tasted new food, I've tried things I never would have tried before, or that we don't have in South Africa. We've had, you know, we've traveled on a bus, we've traveled on like a plane, we've traveled on a train and a ferry, and we've had all these experiences. And I think that's the thing, is that people must remember that when they go overseas, you're going to discover a new version of yourself. You're going to realize like what you can handle, what you can't handle. You're going to discover what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. But to always come back home, or even in the country, like this is something my parents always taught us, because we obviously grew up in the US, is that South Africa is your country. Like South Africa is your home. Like don't go overseas and diss South Africa. Don't go overseas and talk badly about South Africa. Don't go overseas and you're like, oh, South Africa is so beneath us. No, ma'am. Like you go and I don't know what the president, you know, someone asked me in a bar, I don't know what the president's name is, but I can tell you I can sprinkle some information. At least I can sell Cape Town to you so that you want to come to Cape Town. Doesn't mean
Paris. I don't know if you remember in Montmartre, it happened. Someone was like, if I want to come to Cape Town, what can I do? And I was like, go boys.
Give them that information.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, no, definitely, first of all, I hate it when people, like, move to Australia and then, like, just South Africa the whole time. And, like, just not only, like, South Africa as, like, a place, but, like, it's people. Like, these people are your people. Like, you are of the same class. Not necessarily, but, like, don't come and diss people. Or even, like, within South Africa, like, we here locally now, like, don't diss another group of people based on things that they can't control. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like my worst, especially if they like put it on like a social media platform. And I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, like your birthplace is South Africa. Can we not?
Your home.
Like, you so much. Like you're still there chilling with the South African passport. Calm down. And because at the end of the day, like if the whole world, like the world went into lockdown. When those people have to go, they have to come back home. And now you want to this. Like they shipped people back home. They were like, sorry, teachers in Thailand. This ain't working. We need to go on a lockdown. Go home.
Yeah, and also like we need to be so aware of how we sell our country, because the one guy in Montmartre, when we're talking about Cape Town, he's like, but we always get the question, isn't South Africa so dangerous? And then we say, yes, it is dangerous, but it's dangerous. Yeah, I feel unsafe here as well in your, you know, Paris, France. But it's the way you say things. If you say like, yes, I would never, like, yes, some South Africans do have bad lived experiences of being South Africans, being attacked or stuff. But I mean, I think it's just really important that if you need to upsell, like be real, tell people it's unsafe, but don't just leave it at that. Like, don't come. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You might be able to explain it better.
The thing is, like, it is unsafe. We know this as women in South Africa, as a rape capital of the world, and now with like human trafficking on the rise. Like, it is unsafe, but it's also unsafe in Paris. It's unsafe in Amsterdam. Like, it's unsafe everywhere you go. And even here in Cape Town, if I lived my whole life in Bishop's Court, I'm never going to feel the unsafety of what everyone else is experiencing. But if I live in like the Cape Flats, where it is generally, don't come for me. whatever, where it's generally more dangerous. It is more dangerous, but again, like those people didn't really choose that life that they're living. So it is dangerous. And like the thing is, when you come to Cape Town or whatever, like be aware of like where your belongings are, but like don't be, I would say like don't be like over the top about it.
Just
no, like everyone you're walking past is not trying to rob you. Calm down.
Exactly. And I always tell people, just like all countries, like you'll never know until you get there, like what the vibe is, what it's like. If you enjoy it, if you don't enjoy it, you know. So every country, again, you have to experience it for yourself. You have to explore it yourself. You have to find the hidden gems yourself. You have to find the cool corner shop or the underground bar, or you have to you need to do everything yourself, because otherwise it's just you living into someone else's already lived experience.
But even the fact that like largely when we went to Tanzania, everyone was like, isn't that dangerous? You know, as young people going into this village. First of all, yes, it could be dangerous because there was no signal, didn't speak the language, so many things against us, like don't know where I am in the middle of nowhere. We're going to foreigners, there could be drug dealers, but like we had the most magnificent time. So like can't really judge a place really. And like also a good thing that I saw on Facebook is like a good way to judge the people of a town is to look at their stray cats and dogs. And if the stray cats and dogs are well fed, that's a good community, because they're not just like violent against every other living thing that doesn't benefit them. So that's a good hint. Amazing. Love that.
I've heard that before. Okay, that I've never heard that before. That gives us something to think about. But whoa, very interesting. This has been like a fun convo because we spoke about travel, but not
in the typical way that you think.
Yes, and I think that's like, as you mentioned earlier, it's easy for us to just put ourselves under travel because, you know, people always want to box you. We're even in these little boxes. People always want to box you, and it's so difficult because we are multifaceted people. We have different interests, and so this podcast is about ourselves and what we enjoy, and our differing opinions on certain things and our similarities in certain things. So thanks for joining us for this conversation. We'll be back next week. Sakeenah, I hope your brain will be churning some great topic ideas. But yeah, any last words from your side? How was the episode?
This episode was really good. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I want to hear other people's opinions about all the things we spoke about. So that'd be great. You could do that. And I also would like you to do some homework, Reza. Thank you very much. I want you to actually keep a notes tab on your phone, because I know you're traveling this weekend. So I want you to keep a notes tab and be like, traveling in COVID. How is the airport? How's the plane? I know there's no food on the plane, but it's a long flight. How does it work? All of that. And you need to share that with us next week. Okay. You cannot. So that would be great. So thank you so much for watching, as always. If you love the podcast, please give it a like down below. You know what to do if you want to join. Subscribe, join the family. That'd be great as well. And we shall see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.